If you've been following this project a while, you might be able to contrast recent years with our first year in 2020 and notice a progress curve. This makes our attempt to build North Korea in the summer of 2020 all the more impressive, since we as a whole still didn't quite yet know what we were doing. But there was one building there that stood out, that I think was the best creation to come out of all of Build the Earth's first year, the Grand People's Study House. That was built by Zumi69, a primary builder for Team Romania, who have been building with remarkable quality now for 4 years. If they were able to create such an epic creation in the first few months of the project, then you can only imagine what their country built in Minecraft looks like. Except we're not gonna imagine, we're gonna see it. Now, this is everything Romania and Czechoslovakia have ever done. Okay, first off, let's hit up Transylvania in Minecraft with Team Romania. They're building Bucharest. Remember that top 10 video I did years ago with the Romanian House of Parliament taking first place out of the whole list? That's here. And since then, they've done considerable work building near and around it in the heart of the city. The city itself is a historical mix of neoclassical, Art Nouveau, Roman Revival, Soviet Socialist, and other eclectic architectural types. Like many areas, much of this historic architecture was lost during the World Wars, but much of it was not, and much that was lost or almost lost has been restored. Romania, despite being the winners, if there were any winners in World War I at all, despite gaining new territory, experienced the Great Depression harder than most, with some minor banks starting to go bankrupt, causing a panic of everyone trying to withdraw their money, causing all banks to go bankrupt. This hit Bucharest the hardest, with them going communist later in the century. Understandable given the massive nationwide failure of currency within recent memory, and was under the Iron Curtain all the way up until the revolution of 1989 when everything fell apart. Crime in Bucharest is low in comparison to the European average, although Romanian police had to crack down on organized crime to a heavy degree at the turn of the century, pinpointing groups like the Kamataru clan. In terms of completed monuments and places of interest, Team Romania have completed the Minecraft equivalent of things such as the Union Square, the Palalu Patriarhal, the Vladika din Prunde Church, the Palace of Justice, the United Stations Square, and of course the big one being the Palace of Parliament. They've also started on landmarks and areas of progress elsewhere in the city, including Băneasa, a sparsely populated area in Bucharest with large areas of parks, the Palace of Telephones being the ornately designed telecom building which was the tallest building in the city until the 1950s, and the Romanian Athenaeum, the country's most prestigious concert hall and beautiful external landmark of the city, designed and built in 1888, seating 800 within its auditorium space. Now let's take a look at the Carnacuzino Castle in Busteni, Romania. Construction was conducted by the architect Grigore Cerchez. The castle was completed in 1911 while Grigore died in 1927. Yet here we are 100 years later and his work still stands. Being an architect pays in terms of significance, because here we are in the era that people in the 90s thought we would have flying cars and jetpacks. I mean, we do, but they're just really rare and not commonplace yet. And yet these beautiful castles and mansions from history are still standing, much better than the composite wood IKEA Amazon crap houses that we build today that end up having problems only 10 years later. And the guy continues to get dividends from the grave. Just recently the castle was used as a filming location for the Netflix series Wednesday. Here we have this epic street lined with residential units in the city of Baza. If this looks familiar, you're not hallucinating on something your parents slipped into your cereal. It's like Russia, because this is a classic Soviet-style street. Romania being right in between these two influential areas to history, Russia and Greco-Roman, it's almost like its soul is being contested by the Eastern and Western influences of history. Historically, before the influence of the Soviets in the 20th century, prior to 1431, Baza was just a fort, barely mentioned in surviving manuscripts, but after that it started flourishing from just a singular fort to a growing market town. Today, the population is 100,000 strong, with its economy being largely privatized after the fall of the Soviet Union. Here's another beautiful Romanian town, Brasov, located in the middle of the country's landmass. The oldest traces of humans living here dates back to almost 10,000 BC, and some of the first traces of human settlements show traces of Dacian citadels. The Dacians were available to play in Rome Total War, one of my favorite games, in the map region where modern Romania stands today. But Transylvanian Saxons played a decisive role in the town's development over time, and were invited by Hungarian kings to design and develop towns, build mining sites, and further develop cultivation of food production sometime after the turn of the first millennium. And this trend would continue in the modern era as Romanian forces during World War I occupied Brasov, and Brasov would be conceded by Hungary to add to the Romanian territory on a permanent basis. Aside from the province of Brasov you're seeing now called Floralor, they've also begun progress in Piatra Sfetului, with incredibly detailed city blocks next to a roundabout. Construction by the Romanian Minecraft architects have started in Cluj-Napoca. Here is its Union Square, one of the largest and significant squares in Romania. The central district of the city spreads out from the square. In addition to being one of the largest squares, its dimensions being 220 by 160 meters, it also has the highest church tower in Romania at 80 meters respectively. This church is ancient, being constructed in the 12th century and renovated in the 13th century with a quite unusual shape. Let's have a round of applause for that spruce brick roof mix. They've also built this really interesting standalone building, the Compania Națională, the State Department of Transportation in Constance. I imagine this is basically a Romanian DMV. If so, it's a of a lot cooler than our DMVs. What's really interesting about this building is I've never seen something truly detailed with signs before. Makes for a really interesting pattern and seems to throw you off. Gorgeous colors, 10 out of 10. And here, as another standalone with a finished courtyard, we have the Queen Mary Theatre located in Oradea. This is an extremely culturally significant site, with the construction itself being over a century old. To quote an article from Theatre Architecture, the exterior combines harmoniously the neoclassical style with elements from the neo-Renaissance and neo-Baroque styles, with the finishing of the interior ornaments have a discernible Rococo touch. Next up, we've got something straight out of a Beauty and the Beast picturesque Disney movie Autumn Paradise, minus the Disney because Disney sucks now. This is the Pelez Castle located in Sănaia. This piece of art, coming from a painting or some shit come to life, was worked on over a 40-year period of 1873 to 1914. Its tale begins with a Romanian king, King Carol I, who visited the castle and fell in love with the scenic beauty its exterior and surroundings contain. Many plans for the castle to begin with were rejected until a German architect appealed to the king's tastes with a simplistic and original plan combining German aesthetics with Italian elegance. It cost 16 million Romanian lei in gold. Almost 400 men worked on creating it. Why can't we do this shit anymore, and why is everything we build so goddamn boring now? The Earth's countryside could be filled with this shit. Instead, we have over 10,000 McDonald's. Anyways, communist Romania seized the assets after the revolution in 1947, and the area was open, then it was closed, then it was opened, and these days it's a museum with tours available. They've also begun work on Timisoara's Union Square, and they've had an ambitious start on an area in Brăila, a beautiful little city that started out as a small village about 1,000 years ago, but then was decimated by the 1241 Mongol invasion of Europe, featuring Genghis Khan. The women, dead. The children, dead. And forget fishing when you're dead. But, you know, someone probably survived because a settlement began to proliferate there again later, and now we've got it built in Minecraft. I mean, seriously, from what we've seen from Team Romania since we started this, Andion and Zumi69 just spearheading this team, recruiting more and more team members as the progress in their country grows, and it's built just beyond words. A round of golf clap applause for how awesome this team is and how much they've managed to create of their country. The Czechoslovakian Peace Square, located in Vinohrady, has begun work, and based on the emergent beauty that we can see in the creation of this church mid-process, we can only imagine what the square is going to look like when completed. Team Czech has also completed the interior level of the Bratislava Castle, this innermost layer dating specifically to the 13th century, whereas the exterior was built in the 15th. And they have this awesome upside-down pyramid building that looks like it's from Stargate or some shit. This is actually a radio building, fitting the retro theme of the 70s quite well, which is when this project was being developed. Amazingly enough, this was practically the first steel building in Slovakia. And if you want more areas that weren't built with steel, we can take a look at CZECH, a radius of its old town being completed. But when we say it's old, it's kind of underselling it. Obviously, none of these buildings go this far back, but evidence of settlement in this area goes back to the Paleolithic area, which I believe might be one of the oldest we've ever seen. That's going to be early Stone Age. The Soviet Union made this place a heavy industry city, which boomed the population, and it actually stuck even after the 1989 revolution. From then to today, the population remains stable. 10 years ago, CZECH won the competition for European Capital of Culture for transforming its city from the reputation of heavy industry to a place of arts, culture, and creativity. Speaking of creative, they've chosen a unique location to start progress on in the town of Kralupy nad Vidovou, just 10 miles north of Prague. The economic history of this area generally consists of farming and fruit, followed by chemical, sugar factories, and steam mills in the Industrial Revolution, followed by some breweries. Here is a very, very sizable area, equally as beautiful, manifested in the area of Liberec. And if you're wondering where the heck this city got its incredible architectural feel from, it really hit an economic golden age in the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, but had no representative buildings, so they made a plan in the 19th century to redo the entire central area with neo-Renaissance influences. Tough break, because this whole area and much of Czechoslovakia was straight up annexed to Nazi Germany via the Munich Agreement, in which fascist Germany and Italy basically had the French and English acknowledge the ownership of the territories via mutual agreement. This whole place has incredible sights. Cultural monuments, castles, churches with the little steeple thingy, even zoos and botanical gardens. They probably feed you with grapes as you lay down, surrounded by a harem of whatever you're into. Before you label this paradise, hold up. Its weather, much like most places we're exploring in Europe that basically isn't Italy or Spain, is cold as f***. It's basically Washington state weather, but even worse all around, being 35 Fahrenheit in the winter and 65 Fahrenheit in the summer. That's right. Summer brings you all the way up to room temperature. Barely. So it's not perfect. But this quaint Czechoslovakian town nestled at the foot of the Jested mountain range attracts visitors from around the world for a pretty good reason, since it has preserved much of its medieval history in museums across the landscape. And for medieval history and beyond, look no further than Lidomench, which is one of Czech's oldest and well-preserved cities, being a heritage preserve since the 1950s, and a critical port city throughout history. And this, look at this, an adorable, contained, and fully completed little dimple of progress in the city of Malnik, which has a really interesting coat of arms and flag. We haven't been covering this, but many European settlements that exist throughout the medieval time period and prior have these coats of arms emblems that is always some combination of two animals or one animal with solid colors. With as beautiful as this place is, you wouldn't have expected it to have been completely ransacked during the 30 Years' War to the point where it was a very barren place where few lived. But after a slow start in the later part of the Industrial Revolution, in the 20th century they started building a lot there, which accounts for the unplanned but beautiful village-like quality you see to its architecture here now. There is some humble beginnings by Team Czech in the city of Nitra, and they've made considerable progress on the Nitriansky Castle, erected in the 8th century and has stood and survived the ocean waves of time and history. It defended successfully against the Mongol invasions of the 1200s, but not much after that as it continually changed hands between Hungarians, Czech, Germans, you name it. In fact, 35 historical sieges and battles took place here. It's a miracle this place has survived. But enough about things that have stood on this earth for 1400 years. How about something that's been here for about 40? Here's a huge area of completed progress also in the city of Nitra, Klokočina, a housing project with 26,000 people living in this prefabricated building. These are typical panel houses with replicable design that was built in the 1970s with typical suburban family houses mixed in between the large residential buildings. The residents of Klokočina are lucky. It's built on top of a hill that can basically view the whole city, so they get a view you would expect from some $1 million penthouse for a lot cheaper than that. The entire city isn't made in Minecraft, so we don't have that view replicated.
Not yet.
But here's a boundary with completed progress within. This is a telltale sign of a Build the Earth event, where in a few weeks they try and complete as much within the boundary as possible. This one was done in Ostrava, Carolina, based around this huge building that's a shoe factory that had mixed reviews when I looked them up on Google. Shoes are basically the price of a house in 1967, and if you're going to compete in the third largest city in Czechoslovakia, put on your big boy shoes and up the quality. Make products like we made them 30 years ago, where they didn't fall apart in 3 weeks. Though, to be fair, is a bigger problem in America than Europe. And here's Prešov, the third largest city in Slovakia, built by Team Czech, who have built a lot of buildings, but have very little completed street view. Get on it! Anyway, over here you'll be happy to see a little bit of street view finished in concert with this little business complex they've completed in Prievidza. Significant work on this cute little square with this cute little church and these cute little buildings that ring around the square. Oh my god, it's just so cute. And then there's really respectable progress in this neat little village of CZECHOSLOVAKIA. Now imagine you're a Czech wandering through the woods in the 12th century, and you stumble upon this area rich in timber and game for hunting. That's why they settled here. The land was like a dream. They even have an arboretum with 220 species of trees and shrubs. Amazing. Back to Bratislava. Honestly, that name sounds like the most epic burger to ever exist. Like if they added bratwurst and salsa to it. Yeah. Anyways, this wild, crazy, twisty thing is none other than the Kamzik TV Tower, which to this day remains the tallest structure in the country, easily recognizable and visible in the hills, taking 8 years to build and designed by architects. Knowing this would be a mad tourist attraction, they have the surrounding hills and countryside decked with parks, hiking trails, monuments, though that probably wasn't planned, and is all accessible by trolley. And here's one more huge area Czech has produced in Bratislava in the area of Karlova. And while reviewing it, I just want to say, it's been a pleasure looking, viewing, and investigating exactly what's going on in Czechoslovakia, a word I really like saying, and a country and culture so unknown to me personally, and seeing what it looks like in Minecraft. We can scratch another incredible and epic civilization off our Europe bingo card, as we have now seen everything Czechoslovakia has ever done. And that is also everything that Team Romania has ever done. If you would like to learn the ways of the Force with these amazing builders, they have very good tutorial and teaching systems. To join them, use the invite links provided below the video. A huge thanks to our top tier patrons, Solly and Third Edit Man. Thank you for reaching out. We will be able to process your inquiry within 7 business days. Please hold for the next available representative.